I am so very grateful that you're all able to be here this evening. And my prayer is that you'll have one of the holiest, happiest Christmases that you've ever experienced. I would like a favor, though, if I could. If I could invite my young friends to come up and join me for the homily. You guys want to come over? Any of my young friends out in these pews want to come up? Guys, come up. Come on. Come on over. Pull up the floor. Did you have fun in the pageant? Cool. That was good. In his day, Jesus used a lot of examples and a lot of stories to try to get the message across as to what God and all the God stuff was about. So if Jesus was here today, I think this is one of the stories he might use. You know Dasher, Dancer, and Prancer, and Vixen. You know Comet, and Cupid, and Donner, and Blitzen. Who am I missing? Rudolph. Yep, Rudolph. What was the problem with Rudolph?
He had a shiny nose.
He had a red, shiny nose. So he was like all the other reindeer except one thing. He had a light that was shining out from his nose. He had a light that was shining. And because of that light, people picked on him. People didn't want him around. So then he went off on his own. And if this was a true Jesus story, they would have said he went off on his own for 40 days and 40 nights. Because that's usually what happens in the Bible. It's a 40-day, 40-night thing, okay? Then he teams up with an elf that doesn't want to be an elf. What does he want to be?
Dentist.
He wants to be a dentist instead of an elf. And if you ever look closely when you're watching Rudolph, I think Hermie is the only boy elf that has hair. I think all the rest are bald. And if you look, I think Hermie's the only one that has hair. So again, there's something different about him. Then they get lost, and who comes after them? The abominable snowman. And you know what? Bumbles bounce, don't they? Yep. And who helps them along the way?
Brothers in lines.
Yeah, the guy, he taps with his pick and goes, nothing. What's his name? Yukon Cornelius. Yep. Well, let's start making the comparisons. Yukon Cornelius is kind of a John the Baptist character. That he is preparing the way for Rudolph. Trying to get Rudolph back home. Now, Rudolph's got the light. And because of the light, people pick on him and they don't want him. So Rudolph is kind of like Jesus, who's called the light of the world. And then Santa Claus is kind of like God the Father. That he wants all his children to be taken care of. And then we get to the island of misfit toys. We don't have a Jack in the Box, we have a Charlie in the Box. And we have a squirt gun that doesn't squirt water, it squirts jelly. Misfits. Nobody's what they're supposed to be. But Rudolph guides Santa's sleigh so that the misfit toys are taken in and find a home. If Rudolph is kind of like Jesus, and Santa is kind of like God the Father, we're the misfit toys. Because we don't always do what we're supposed to do. Sometimes instead of being a Jack in the Box, we're a Charlie in the Box. Or a Susie in the Box. And sometimes instead of squirting water, we squirt jelly. Sometimes we just don't do what we want to do. And sometimes we feel like the train that has the square wheels. You know, we feel like we're broken and we can't get anywhere. But Jesus comes to light our way and bring us to the Father. So even though we might feel like we're on an island all alone, even though we might feel like we're one of the worst misfits in the world, Didn't Rudolph show up and bring the toys to Santa?
Yes.
So won't Jesus show up and bring us to the love of the Father? Yeah. Whenever we're lost and we're feeling like misfits, all we have to do is look for the light of Jesus. He will show us how to get through whatever we're going through. He will show us the way to God's love. Because that's what Christmas is all about. God so loved the world that he sent us his Son. So tonight we're celebrating God's love. We might not always feel it. We might feel lost and alone on our own island. But even through the darkness, they saw that red glow of Rudolph's nose saying that it's going to be all right. So whether it's through a mom, a dad, a grandma, grandpa, whether it's through somebody at church, through Holy Communion, through the Bible, maybe through somebody at school or work, we can experience that light of Jesus. And so they're like Rudolph to us, showing us the way. They're like Jesus to us, showing us the way. So every time you see one of the characters from Rudolph, or you see Rudolph himself, or any time you sit and you watch that special, remember, Santa Claus is like God the Father. Jesus, well, that's who Rudolph is presenting. Rudolph is like Jesus. And it's okay to be misfits, because Santa will take us home. How are your singing voices? Pretty good tonight? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it blows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you ride my sleigh tonight? Then all the reindeer loved him as they shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history. So I wish you and all your families a very Merry Christmas. And every time you see or hear about Rudolph, think about Jesus, the light, showing the way to the Father's love. Okay? Thank you very much.